Family is supposed to be the most caring and loving individuals that we encounter with in this life. But sometimes, family can become our biggest enemy and worst nightmare. Today, we're going to talk about the disturbing story of Blanche Monnier, a beautiful girl from France who ended up having one of the most sad and tragic lives. Let's dive in. The year is 1876. Paris is a wealthy town in western France, and the Monnier family lived in a mansion on 21 Rue de la Visitation. Their daughter was named Blanche, and she was very popular in town. She was a happy, bubbly, and beautiful girl with huge eyes and thick brown hair. Her brother, Marcel, became a lawyer, and they both lived together with their mother into their 20s. At age 25, Blanche was getting close to the old maid status by the standards of the 1800s, and she knew that she had to hurry in finding a husband and moving out of her house before it was too late. She met a lawyer who was a little older than her, and she completely fell in love with him. He wasn't rich or successful, but Blanche loved him as a person, and they became inseparable. Blanche kept their relationship a secret from her mother though, because she knew she would disapprove. Nearly every night, she waited for her mother and brother to go to sleep. Then she would quietly sneak downstairs to see her lover after dark. In the 1800s, love had very little to do with marriage, and parents were heavily involved with who their child married. This was especially true for members of the upper class, like the Monnier family. Usually, dates were supervised, and both families will meet one another and came to an agreement that they meshed well together. Marriage was a team effort. More than two people will decide who fell in love and if it's a well-suited match. Even though Blanche tried to keep her relationship a secret from her mother, there were plenty of witnesses around town who saw them together at night, but noticed that they would ignore one another in the daytime, making it obvious for anyone paying attention that this was a secret affair. The people in her town could not understand why they would keep their relationship a secret, so they started spreading rumors about Blanche. The rumors about Blanche's secret affair ended up reaching Blanche's mother, and she was absolutely furious and enraged. She forbid Blanche from seeing her boyfriend ever again. The two got into huge arguments, but Blanche would still sneak out to see him anyway. Blanche hoped to get married with her lover soon to escape her mother. She could have never imagined what would happen to her next. Madame Monnier told her son Marcel about Blanche's relationship. Him being very obedient and loyal to his mother agreed with her. He was shocked at how angry and vicious the fights between his sister and mother were getting, and he thought that Blanche was out of control. They both agreed that they did not want Blanche to be with this man, and they wanted to teach her a lesson. One night, when Blanche returned home after seeing her lover, the mom and brother ambushed her in the dark, grabbing her and locking her up in the attic, which had a straw mattress laying on the floor waiting for her. After being locked inside, her mother told her through the door that if she wanted to come out, she would have to promise that she would break up with her boyfriend. The small room was completely dark even in the daytime. The windows were boarded up and nailed shut. Blanche had to feel her way through the pitch-black room. Her mother would not even open up the door to give her food or let her use the bathroom. Instead, she would slip whatever scraps of food that could slip underneath the space in the doorway, and Blanche had to also defecate inside the small room. Being alone and in the dark for so long is known for driving people insane, no matter how mentally capable they were beforehand. Blanche was actually very strong and clearly very stubborn because she refused to give in to her mother's demands. As days passed, Madame Monnier saw that Blanche remained true to her word and refused to give in, which only made the mother angry by the day. So the mother began to tell her friends in town that Blanche had disappeared in the middle of night. She also gave a good show with fake tears and crying. It is not known if her lover came looking for her during her sudden disappearance, but Madame Monnier would have told him the same story anyway. Her son, Marcel, was very loyal to his mother and went along with the lies about his sister. They went on to live their lives while Blanche rotted away in the attic. As years passed, Blanche grew thinner and thinner. She was living in her own filth, growing more and more insane by the day. She screamed out the boarded windows, hoping that someone would hear her on the street, but help never came. 25 long years later, and Blanche never gave in to her mother's demands. Yet, she remained locked in the attic. In 1901, the police department received an anonymous letter stating that a young woman was being held captive on 21 Rue de la Visitation. When the police showed up to investigate and knocked on the door, both the mother and brother ignored them, hoping that the police would just leave. That's when the police decided to break in and search the whole house for this captive woman. When they reached the attic, they noticed a rotten smell coming from it. Upon reaching the attic, the door was locked by an old rusty padlock. Realizing that something was off, the police smashed the lock and broke into the room, unprepared for the horrors that lay within. The authorities had written a grim report based on their findings. Here is a paragraph from those reports summarizing their findings.
The woman looked extremely malnourished while lying completely naked on a rotten mattress. All around her formed a crust made from excrement and fragments of food. We also saw bugs running across Blanche's rotten mattress. The air inside the room was so unbreathable it was impossible for us to proceed our investigation any longer.
Blanche had been lying on a straw mattress that had gone rotten, and she was lying in her own filth. Crumbs of food and bugs were all over the floor. She was now 50 years old and had not seen daylight for 25 years. Blanche was totally naked, and she hid her body and face under her blanket because the sunlight was too much to handle. She was terrified and completely deranged, and she only weighed 55 pounds. Blanche was taken to the Hotel Dieu hospital, and doctors thought she was going to die because she was so thin. The nurses gave her a bath, and she kept saying how lovely it was to be clean and how thankful she was to be free and rescued. When Blanche's mother and brother were brought to court, Marcel testified that Blanche was an angry woman who was full of rage. They believed she was mentally ill. He stated that only a crazy person would choose to stay in solitary confinement over agreeing to break up with someone, and this is why they kept her locked up for all these years. He stated that she was out of control. But Blanche never acted violent or lashed out at any of the doctors or nurses. She was calm and very grateful to have been saved. Her mother was found guilty of her crimes and she was sent to jail. But since she was so old, She died only 15 days after her sentence. Her brother was given a sentence of 1 year in jail, but since he was a lawyer, he knew how to protect himself. He appealed the charges and was able to go free. Blanche was able to put on some weight at the hospital, but after being in solitary confinement for 25 years, they said she had lost her mind. She also had nowhere else to go. She was now 50 years old and could not very likely find a husband and move on with her life. And she sure wasn't going to move back in with her brother. She was sent to live in the Blois Psychiatric Hospital, where she died in 1913 at the age of 64 years old.